Unmute and oh, there we go. And catch Leela. Oh no. Hey everyone.
Hi, Gita. Hi, Caesar and Glenda.
My co-host. Yes.
And Darius.
Admit.
Isn't that the first time you're here, Darius? Yeah, welcome.
Welcome.
And Jason and Alison.
Hello.
Is it the
Welcome.
first time for Alison as well? Yeah,
That's
hello.
so nice.
Hello, so nice.
It's great to have new people. And Stefan.
Stefan.
Hello.
Hello.
Welcome.
And old Barbara.
Hi.
Barbara, she's been here tons of times. It's old Barbara. And old Harlan. And old Liz. So if everybody knew, it's normal that we insult people that have been here a couple of times. And Rowena and Amy and Susan. Hi.
Quinn is doing a handstand. Very impressive.
Upside down. Why am I upside down?
Don't know. That is so so
So
fun.
impressive.
Very impressive. It was good to have you here though. I wonder why that's happening. That's really
It's probably
odd.
the phone that is upside down.
Is
If
it?
yeah.
Are you on a phone or a computer?
I'm on the computer.
That's so odd then. I don't know why that would do that.
See. Where are my video? Nope.
So funny.
Computers are such odd things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And before we start completely with the Q&A, we would like just to do a very, very short 10-minute meditation where we just center ourselves into the present moment and really notice what is actually here when we're not locked into our thoughts. We have that tendency to believe that reality is whatever we think it is. And it's not, though. That's just what we think it is. So practicing daily how to get back to what actually is, what we really experience in our direct experience, is such a wonderful practice because it really, really downregulates the nervous system and really, really makes you present here in the moment. And the more you practice, the easier it is when you are in stressful situations or something is happening that is making you feel unstable. When you have a practice about just breathing and getting back to your senses, it makes everything so much easier. And how Quinn is the right side upside down.
Wonderful.
Wonderful. The world is normal. Oh, thank you so much, Harlan. Quinn, don't do what Harlan just said.
Okay. All right.
Do you want to start?
Sure. It's the 6 Fetter effect.
It is a 6 Fetter effect. You're right, Caesar.
Nice. All right.
You start.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Make yourself comfortable. Find possibly an upright seated position. We want to be alert, but also relaxed. Take a deep breath. And on the next exhalation, allow all of the thoughts about today, all of your expectations, all of those can just go. And take another deep breath. And on the next exhalation, feel all of the tension gathering in the inhalation and then being expelled with the breath. And take one last deep breath. And on this exhalation, just make a vow to be present. You are here right now. There's nothing else we need to do. You can let the body relax, and notice as the body relaxes, the mind begins to relax with it. Just take a moment to feel the breath as it comes in the nose, deep into the chest, as it inflates the belly like a balloon, and as the whole process reverses. The belly collapses, the chest deflates, and the breath escapes the nose again. In and out. The cycle continues. Feel your feet on the ground. Feel your bottom on the seat. And just feel the weight of gravity bringing you into the moment where we can sense the body. We can feel all that there is to feel without any immediate judgment or categorization of it. We're just noticing. Just noticing any sensation that arises and letting it be. And as you feel these sensations coming and going, some may be grabbing your attention, others being much more quiet and subtle. Notice if thoughts are also arising. You might have mental images, mental sounds. You might have thoughts about these sensations. You might have thoughts that are completely irrelevant to what we're doing right now. Those thoughts might seem enticing, or they might seem frustrating and distracting. It's okay. We don't need to police the thoughts or make them go away. We're just remaining open and present to however things are showing up. If a sensation is pleasant, that's okay. If it's uncomfortable, that's also okay. If the mind is quiet and still and silent, that's okay. If there are a flurry of thoughts and sounds, and some of those start to feel emotionally turbulent, that's also okay. We're just noticing. But also notice that those thoughts are not actually relevant to what's here in the room. Those thoughts, whether they're about you and questioning how well you are doing with this meditation, how attentive you're being, how quiet the mind is, or thoughts about current events or family dramas, work, other concerns. Just notice that none of them are actually relevant right now. If there are judgment thoughts about how well you are staying attentive to the task, then those thoughts are actually pulling you out of the moment. And if you're having thoughts about current events, just notice in this room around you that those events are not present. There is nothing here that you have seen on the news or on social media. You're still sitting in a quiet house, feeling the sensations in the body and hearing the sounds in the room. And if you're concerned over some family drama, recognize that that's probably not present for you right now. Notice if something is really going on, or if it's just a play of the mind, creating a future, an imaginary future, and living in that time period at the same time as this one. When we engage the mind and the stories that the mind creates, we're fragmenting ourselves. Instead of just remaining present with the raw experience of this moment in all of its neutrality and inherent contentment, we're instead living in the past and in the future and just a little bit right here. And the problem is that the future doesn't exist. It's just imagination. You will likely never experience those things that you are currently worrying about. And the past no longer exists, and it certainly doesn't and didn't exist in the way that you currently imagine it to be. All that we have is what is here in this present moment. But we miss it when we are constantly lost in these stories of the mind with this half-hearted time travel. So just notice the senses. Only notice what is immediately present. If the mind comes in with some worry, some concern that seems absolutely tantalizing in its stressfulness, just let that go and come back to what is actually present in your visual field. With the eyes closed, it's not just darkness. There is plenty of interesting things to be seen behind the eyes. Come back to the sounds in the room. You're never in absolute silence. There is always something that can be heard. Something to ground you back into this passing moment. Come back into the sensations of the body. Come back into the weight of having a body anchored on a planet. Come back to the solidity of this moment. In higher Fetter work, we often dissolve all of these aspects of our present moment and all of our sensations, but they are also always here. We can live in different planes of existence at the same time in that way. And when we find that we are lost in the thought realm, in the machinations of the mind, and all of those worrisome stories and contrivances, we want to come back to the grounding level. We want to come back to the physicality of this moment. We want to come back to this presence. And the more we are calm and stable and present with things as they arise, then it's possible that even those things which are here that might seem unpleasant, like chronic pain, chronic feelings of worry or anxiety in the body, that when we just embrace them and we are absolutely fully present with them, with no thoughts about them or judgments to the contrary, no wishes for anything to be other than it is right here, we'll often find that What's here is just wonderful. Those judgments were also part of the mind. That pushing and pulling, imagining that something can be other than it is not present. It's just the mind. The concept of pain, the concept of anxiety, of depression, of concern, they're only labels that are part of the mind. So we come into the present reality simply as it shows up, and then allow all of those labels and concerns to float past. The only thing we ever have to do is be here, right now. Activity may happen, but that activity is always happening right here, right now. All of those movements of mind are just distractions from this. They don't make it happen. They don't improve this moment. They simply confuse and distract. It's okay if they come, and it's okay if they go. But we don't need to cling to or believe any of them. We just ground back in the shifting panorama of sensations. Another minute to just feel everything that is here to be felt. See and hear and smell and taste everything that shows up right now with no judgment, no labeling, no thoughts about where they have come from, whether you want them to stay or go. Just be aware. Take one more deep breath, and when you're ready, slowly open your eyes and see if you can maintain this awareness of everything right now as it is. Thank you.
That's wonderful.
Okay.
That's really wonderful. It's so important to become aware of that part, that we know that sitting and flicking on Netflix and scrolling on social media, we know that that is diversion. You know,
Yeah.
there's something happening and we don't want whatever is happening right now. We can't deal with that right now. So we divert with all the drama on social media, on Netflix and all of that. But the mind is the same. The mind is exactly the same. You're here in the present moment right now, and something is happening that is just too much to deal with. So we go into all of those mental formations about gossip and neighbors and drama and opinions and all of that.
Yeah.
It's exactly the same. It's exactly the same. So how it works for anyone who hasn't been here before, you just raise your virtual hand, as you can see. I think that's yours, isn't
Yep,
it?
it is.
So you just raise your virtual hand, and then we call you forward and you ask your question and we talk about it. And if there's anything that you don't want to be, public, we can pause the recording.
Yeah.
I do want to say that, which you probably have found if you have watched the recordings, it is so, so helpful.
Yeah.
It's really helpful because you're not the only one with the issue you're
No.
sitting with. So
No, it really is amazing how universal so many of our issues are. And
yeah,
even though they feel deeply personal and really sensitive, when we have these things posted, you know, it's like there's so much similarity to what people experience that we start to realize that it's not really personal at all. It's just human. It's
yeah.
just, you know, another passing of an experience that somebody else can completely resonate with. So it is super
It is.
helpful
I do think it's because we are in the same meat suit.
yeah.
All of us. We have the same biology, the same chemistry, the same, hormonal pattern, and the same psychology, and all of that is the same. So we experience things in the very same way if we're put in the same situation, no matter if we live in Japan or Iowa.
Yeah.
We experience the same thing, and that's why it's so, so helpful. And there's something really transformative in experiencing, for example, this group where we are from all over the world and people meet and share, and
Yeah.
we're experiencing exactly the same things.
I was going to say it's so wonderful that we
Yeah.
see it, that it's cross-cultural.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay.
you're first.
Okay. Why do I not see it?
I don't know.
It's not there,
Maybe
right?
let's see.
Hi.
All right, give me 1 second. I'm trying to spotlight you and it's not giving me oh, right, you have to have your camera on for us to spotlight you. Do you mind? Thank you. I remember that
Hi,
now.
Todd. Hi, Pernille.
Hi, great seeing
Hello.
you.
Good to see you.
Turn off my microphone. Okay, there we go. Good to see you. How are you?
I have my two dogs in the back, so they might make some sounds.
That's okay. Little doggy
Here
cameos.
they are. I
Oh,
guess.
Oh, so nice.
it's
Oh, so nice.
like a basket of adorableness back
Yeah,
there.
basket of adorableness. It is.
Yeah. I'm wearing sunglasses because I'm just at the sunrise beach and just getting some sun while I chat with you guys if it's okay to wear
Oh,
this.
of course, of
Absolutely.
course. Yeah.
I wear sunglasses all the time when I'm
Yeah.
out. So absolutely.
There's no need to blind yourself for this.
No, no, no.
Hi everybody else, good to see you again. This is my first meeting and thank you for beautiful guided meditation.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. I just found both of your voices so soothing. It's like just staying in your voice and just just soothing. It just makes everything okay. And
It
it
is.
is.
Everything
It's
is
so
okay.
beautiful. Yeah.
Thank you. We're happy
Yeah.
we can remind you of that.
Yeah.
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 Everything is
Yeah.
okay.
Hmm. Just feeling the body sense a little bit. Heart
Yeah.
is a little bit uh, mildly, palpating faster than usual.
Mm.
Palms a little sweaty, but it feels exciting.
Mm. Well, it's interesting that it's all about the overlay that you put on that, right? Like those things that you just described. If we have like a job interview or something coming up, we would say I'm anxious about it. But if you're in love with somebody and you're like
Me
meeting,
going on
you know,
a
going on a
date.
date, you would be like, oh, I'm so excited for it. And so it's just our framing that
Yeah,
makes those into one thing versus another.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So, I have a question about the Fetter, and I'm still currently on two, and I'm taking my time. But right after your retreat, I attended Angela DeLulo's online retreat,
Hmm.
and actually just still being in a meditative zone, and even though it's finished and it's still carrying out.
Nice.
Um, so I don't know if you remember from the retreat, I asked a question about this memory of story and memory of me being a little girl in a bathtub naked,
Yeah.
feeling shame and humiliated. Everybody's laughing at me.
Yeah.
Um, so so let me think about the fourth day of the Angelo's retreat. I needed to get out, and I just needed to be out. The inside energy was just too dense. I needed to be out, and I just left the place I was meditating at with a friend, and I told her, I just need to be out. I need fresh air, and interestingly, so it's just like it was like, what does my body want? And then it was just like, it said it want to be bathed in just warm water, and
Mm.
I was looking at it, and oh, there's a Korean naked woman spa place.
Amazing.
So I just went there, and I spent there probably like 8 to 9 hours all day. And
Wow.
it was Saturday, it's super busy, like it's run by women, only women, and you're just literally like naked there, and
Yeah.
all sorts of, like temperature water, saunas and everything. And yeah, like it was such an interesting experience for me. And again, I mean, I didn't talk to anyone. It was just body just kind of went into this samadhi state, and I was bathing myself, just like scrubbing my the skin that's kind of like it's a
Mm.
coming off, like scrubbing the body, and it was like, the body was crying and just getting all sorts of this like emotional thing just
Mm.
coming out, and oh, the throughout the day it felt like um I was at the safe haven that was run by these angels, and
Yeah.
Mm.
it was really okay, and everybody's naked and nobody's laughing at anyone, and it's
Yeah.
just so beautiful to see um naked bodies, no shame, just everybody's there to just to
Enjoy.
be.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and this stranger lady, she just wanted to, like she actually like wanted to actually scrub my back for me,
Well,
and as she was doing it, like, I started crying. It's just like, oh, and it just felt this like stranger's unconditional love,
Yeah.
yeah.
and reminded me of, wow, like this is the care and love that I craved for so long, and this like beautiful like old Korean lady, she actually wants to do it. It's like
Mhm.
so amazing. And at the end of the day, it felt like I was able to just wash off. Like I'm
Mm.
just literally washing off my, just like all day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It felt literally and figuratively the experience. It felt like I was able to wash off the shame,
Mhm.
guilt, feeling of dirty, and they had and then this off of my skin, and just, and then just emotionally just crying and sweating out, and the the pain on in the neck and shoulder, it felt like it was from the woman in my ancestry. They just carried so much throughout their
Mhm.
life, and it was
Mm.
just suited with, just the warm and cold water pools. And like I just felt this unconditional love surrounded by this stranger woman, and it just really felt something. And at the very end, I was just meditating again, sitting and just really savoring this whole experience. And um like I saw myself front of me, my face literally just like showed up in my, I mean, I was closed my eyes, and my face actually just like appeared, and it just like gently smiled, and with such a love. And then I was like, huh, like mine went kind of like, oh wow, like it wanted to go like, look at that, you're so obsessed with yourself. But then it was like, oh no, this is like, you trust the experience. And just like I just
Yeah.
like kind of like fell into it. And it reveals that. And then like it was like your I was listening to your that music that you actually put out that day.
Oh,
Yeah,
yes.
and then I just remember one of your meditation. I don't remember who said, one of you, you have to be now your mother, that
Mm.
parent, you have to parent
Yeah,
yourself.
your caring mother and your protecting father. Yeah.
Yeah, and I realized that this face of Yuri that appeared in front of me was the mother I thought I never had, the protector I
Mm.
thought I never had, and this the safety I thought I would never had. I
Mm.
never had. And it was like right in front of me. It was just like it's all okay. And it was just like it was the mother was right there. It was like, huh.
Oh, oh,
So
that is
wonderful.
And when
It's
absolutely
I
so
beautiful.
wonderful. And it really is, it really is that caring mother that you have in you that acknowledge, okay, I have an issue. I have this memory that really takes up, it has shaped my entire life. There's so much guilt and shame in it. How can I support myself best? And then you pick going to that balance that I don't know what you call it, that the spa,
Yeah.
um, and have that wonderful, loving, caring experiences of other women that are taking care of themselves and taking care of others by scrubbing their backs. And so you really took the seat as your loving mother and your protecting father
yeah,
by
it
doing that.
was
It's so, and then the what we always talk about is that when we have had experiences that keep coming up over and over, it's just a metaphor for something that needs addressing. And the moment you address it, the metaphor doesn't need to come up anymore. Now you have experience that, okay, I can take the worst thing that I experienced that just has directed my entire life. I can acknowledge that and I can absolutely love it, and then something completely new and transformative happens, and now the metaphor doesn't need to be there anymore, because at any point, if you need loving care and compassion, you can just go to that particular spa and you will experience exactly that again.
yeah,
So beautiful.
absolutely. And I know the shame, guilt, those are identity beliefs. Those
Yeah.
are strong one
Yeah.
to, you know, like dissolve it,
Yeah.
or break detangle from the identity. And when I finished with that, after that interference with this motherly figure showed up in me, I got up and left. And body just actually wanted to just my actual home, to my dogs and to my husband. And it's like, what do you want? It's like home. It's just like, okay, home. I'm going
Mm.
home. And then I got up, and then as I was about to walk out, I looked back at the couch I was sitting, and I felt like, the those delusions or illusions, those identity. It kind of felt like that safe mother, protective mother figure, gently, lovingly, um, delivered that shameful and guilty, this feeling dirty, this poor Yuri at this safety heaven.
Mm.
And 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 it felt like part of me just left there and then just dissolved, and I felt so much lighter. It's
Yeah.
so much. And I just felt this like, wow, there's like incredible amount of freedom. I can do whatever, or like
Yes.
do nothing. It's like, it
Yeah.
was,
Yeah.
Yeah, it reminds me of Ted's story. In the second Fetter there, I have two interviews with Ted where he's going through this cleaning process. this detox process as well, when he's releasing all the old beliefs about himself. And then I think it's in one of them, or was it a conversation we had with him? Can't remember, but he suddenly had that. So he did exactly the same, asking himself, okay, so what do you want? What is it you need right now? How can I support you right now? And he just had that feeling, I want to go to Disney World.
Mm.
I want to go to Disney World and I want a teddy bear. So he went to Disney World and bought a teddy bear.
Was
And it
that
was
Disneyland? And it was
Disneyland.
Winnie the Pooh.
And there was Winnie the Pooh. That was it. So he bought that Winnie the
Yeah,
Pooh at
yeah,
Disney
yeah,
kind of land.
yeah,
Okay. But it's exactly that we have those experiences when we are completely open and we just go, okay, what is it that you need right now? I got your back. I will do that. And then it is like, I just want to go home. Okay, then we go
yeah,
home. No talking about it, no debating about it.
yeah,
We just go home. It's so
Yeah.
beautiful. And that is when
Yeah.
that is what we talk about in that ninth feather flow, that you just get into that complete pure movement that is happening when the body, something arises in the body in this moment, and you just honor it. There's no interpretation and there's no judgment. It's just honoring whatever is arising. And I love that. I'm so,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
happy for you. I'm so
And
happy for
thank
you.
you so much. So they're doing your retreat in a couple days after, followed by Angelo's, just like
Yeah.
inquiry. And in the evening, I would listen, one of your talks and the meditation. It was just all this like this
Yeah.
like
yeah.
dancing of this like it
It's
was
so
so
beautiful.
beautiful.
Yeah,
And
so beautiful.
one more question, if that's okay, or if I'm taking too much
Yeah,
time.
that's
Um,
okay.
um, s- so even though I dropped this like huge mountain of the, it feels like mountain of this a big identity over there, it just happened, it's like dissolved. There are still identities, like resisting, the mind is still grasping. Um, so the identities and beliefs about myself, like they drop, they don't drop at the same time, they just drop like one at a time, or however the process goes.
Yeah, it very much, I mean, it depends person to person, and it depends on which aspects we're talking about, but it's usually not a once and the entire cartload of identifications go all at once.
Yeah.
It's like we start to see little by little because they're, what we talk about with the second fetter is how incredibly ingrained they are in all of our behavior and thoughts, and the way that we view absolutely everything in the world has these starting points behind them. And the way that we create those identities is because we have some sort of inherent view of what it means to be Todd and Yuri, and a man, a woman, a citizen of a certain country, a human, alive. And we have all of these things that are just unexamined, and they start to create more and more expectations and judgments. And until we start to notice them more and more, like, oh, there's a pattern of thinking here where I'm always interacting in this kind of a situation in a certain way, that can highlight for us what one of those beliefs is that's underneath there. And then once we start to undercut that belief and start to question whether it's true or not, that can take with it a lot of different types of identification, or it might just be kind of relevant to one particular situation. That's why it's very organic, and why
Mhm.
it's really mostly important just to notice as you're going through your day, all the ways that you are interacting through those assumptions. Um,
Yeah.
and the ways that we view ourselves, like um it came up during the retreat when we talked to you, and I didn't bring it up at that point, but there was an association that you made a couple times which was interesting when you were talking about the instance of, like, when you were a little girl, and then having the people say, like, well, she knows she's a woman, and then you made an association a couple times with weakness, that came up right
Yeah,
afterwards.
we talked about that.
Yeah,
Actually.
and I thought it was really interesting because I don't know if you're like consciously aware that there's an association there, but it's a thing where I think this experience in the spa was also particularly
Potent.
potent because you can see that there is such a strength inherent in you and in all the women that you were there with, and the ability of that old Korean woman to just unconditionally scrub your back. Like there's like nothing tied in with that. There's just this complete giving and acceptance that's available. And like you said that ancestrally there was so much put on the women and they had to carry so much. And so I'm sure that there are kind of layer upon layer of associations that are involved with gender and expectations and strength and weakness and all of these different things. And it's just interesting to start to tear that apart a little bit and to start to see how relevant that is also in the current moment and how much of it is just, even the ideas of strength and weakness are not relevant. They don't mean anything. If it's this unfolding of ability to just give when the heart gives and accept when it's given, there's no there's no need for that kind of judgment on top of it either. It's
No,
really
because
just
it's not real.
it's not real.
It's not
Exactly.
real. It's just something that it's a thought about weakness
Yeah.
that needs to be believed in for it to feel real. It doesn't make it real, even when we
Exactly.
believe in it. It's just that it feels real when we believe in that thought.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so funny. Like, like you guys just like nailed the hammer on my head. It's so funny. You are so right about this one. Okay, yeah, it's a beautiful thing to work with. And it strongly ties in with my tendency to people please.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
lots of women do that. Lots of women do. Also
And
men. I just
yeah,
want to say also men.
Yeah. Yeah.
But a lot of women have that tendency to people please in order to feel,
yeah.
entitled to acceptance and entitled to kindness and entitled to, yeah.
Yeah, it's a poor boundary skills for
Mhm.
myself
Yeah.
to, but so afraid to cross boundaries of others.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
there's a fear. Okay, thank you so
Yeah.
much.
Yeah, you're
Yeah.
welcome. You're
No,
welcome.
it's
Thank you
Thank
for
you for everything
bringing
you
up.
do.
Yeah.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
thank you, Yuri. It's so
You're
good
so
seeing you.
welcome.
Thank
Yeah,
you for
good
being
seeing you.
here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I do
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
Thanks
this.
for having
Yeah.
me.
Thank
Thank you.
you.
We'll see you soon.
Bye.
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 Yeah, I'm happy you brought that up because we talked about that afterwards that
Yeah.
we should have addressed that.
Yeah. There was a lot at the retreat. And
There
it
was a
seemed like
lot
it
of
was
the
like one
retreat. It
thing
was.
too many at that point. Hi,
Hello,
Marianne.
Marianne.
Oh, you're
You're muted.
muted.
There we go.
Hello.
How are
Hello.
you?
Good. Good. I'm okay. It's really good to hear from Yuri. I think I saw her at the retreat this past
Yeah.
week.
Yeah.
Um,
Amazing.
I've I have well, I went to that Angelo's retreat for 5 days, and prior to that, I went to a psychedelic retreat. I've never done that before, and since those two retreats, I just feel so restless. Like I don't know what to do with myself.
Mhm.
I wake up in the middle of the night and, can't fall back asleep. And that's okay because that's par for the course for me anyway. But, um, but I'm just feeling like I can't, I try to sit down and meditate and oh my God, it is so much more work than it
Yeah.
has ever been.
Yeah.
And I feel like there's something just wanting to like get out of my body,
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
like
Yeah.
crawl right out, it's right there. And
You
I'm
should let
having
it. Yeah, Marianne, you should let it. It's one of the biggest misunderstandings when it comes to meditation and to doing retreats and all that. We have this idea that when we're mindful and when we are, awake and enlightened and all of that, that we just sit quietly on a mountaintop and there's just serene, energy through us and all that. We completely forget the other part of it. If you have
Mhm.
had a full life of suppressing emotions and feelings and opinions and your true self and all, you have suppressed all of it, then
Oh yeah.
then unbottling that on a retreat, I mean, the genie has come out. So you have
Mhm.
to move. You have to move and try.
Now.
Mhm.
That's what I
Well,
mean. I mean,
yeah,
I
yeah,
feel
you
like I
can,
have
you
to do
can.
something
So
now.
Leela, yeah, so Leela, would you find the percussion number that Todd he made for the embodiment retreat? Because Marianne, she needs to stomp and shake and pump
Sure,
and all of
I'll
that. In
put
a
it.
moment, Leela, she's going to put a link in the chat. And
Okay,
this
great.
and I can recommend you to when we have talked just now,
Hmm.
you can turn your camera off if you want. Mute
Thank you.
yourself and then just click on the link, and then when the music starts to play, you start by just moving to close your eyes just like you're meditating, and then you just let the body move the way that it does. And if you feel like stomping, you stomp, and if you feel like shaking, you shake. If you feel like roaring or screaming, then you roar and you scream, and do not create any stories about it.
Mhm.
Just like you're sitting and meditating and you just allow that calm coming over you. This is your body reacting. This is your body going, okay, I hear you. I hear you. And now the body just needs to react. All of it needs to come out. Let go of it. You don't need to carry it around anymore. Let go. And when the body
Mhm.
has released all of it, exactly what you're starting to feel now, when you have sobbed and you have screamed and you have shaken and you have pumped and you've done all of that, sit down, close your eyes, and feel that serenity, because it's right under the surface. But that restlessness that you feel, it is a shout from your inside that something needs to come out. You need to
Let me
roar.
out. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. You need to roar and you need to shake and stomp and, do everything you can. Be as noisy as you can, you know? And if you want to come
Okay.
back and tell us how it felt and what happened, we would be happy to hear that. Um, we did that in a retreat last year, and we're having a similar retreat this year that is called
Mhm.
Move into Awakening, where it's very much about allowing the body to express, because all of our judgments and experiences and everything, it's locked in the body, in the muscles and tendons and fascia and ligaments. It's locked in the body, and the more we put a lid on, the more restricted the body gets and the more stiff the body gets. So when you allow all of that out, you don't need to create a story about it, because there's nothing to talk about. It's
Mhm.
not an intellectual experience. It's an embodied experience where you just allow for all of it to come out. Don't judge yourself, just allow all of it. And there might come um, images or thoughts about when you're 7 years old and when you're 15 and when you're 4 and when just allow all of it to come out while you're dancing and shaking and screaming and pumping and just let it out.
Yeah, I've never felt so intensely restless.
Yeah,
And I don't know if it was the medication that I took 2 weeks ago, that
might
kind of
be.
unlocks something in me, but because I didn't feel this way during the retreat. I was able to sit down and meditate. I was having difficulty with inquiry. My brain would come in and show me these terrible images when I was trying to inquire, who am I? And I was like, oh my God. So I think that was probably the start of this,
Yeah,
restlessness and needing to let whatever these demons are out. And also I'm
yeah.
having a lot of flashes from um where I'm having moments of zero distance, and it's like, I mean, I want to let it take me there, but I just can't let go, so
If
because
you if you can allow yourself, first of all, I just want to say, and I know it's just a figure of speech, but it's not demons. It's not gonna do you any harm. it is bottled up energy in your body that you finally, for whatever reason now, is allowing to be let out. Just let it all out. Just let
Okay.
go of all of it. There's no need for you to carry it around. Whatever barrier was broken down with the psychedelics or at the retreat or whatever, we don't know.
Right.
Just say, amazing, great. All the windows are open now. Flush out all of it. And you do that by movement, and let your
Okay.
body move you. So it's not an intellectual endeavor. It's your body that is moving you.
Okay.
You're just along for the ride.
Yeah.
It's also
Okay.
possible that the psychedelics can also kind of just regulate the nervous system a bit. So this might also just help to kind of bring you back into a state of calm,
Yeah.
a state of
Yeah, it's just all of a sudden, I mean, the last couple of days, it's just like it's peaked,
Yeah.
and it's, yeah, thank you.
You're so welcome. And if
I will,
anybody else have a similar experience, that there's restlessness or restless legs at night or anything like that, where it just, comes up, this is what you do. You put on this track that has been created exactly for that. Thank you, Todd. You put on the track and then you just take half an hour shaking all of it out.
thank
okay.
you.
Huh. It's kind of like
Enjoy.
TRE with music, huh?
Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
Okay.
yeah,
yes.
yeah,
Enjoy,
Okay.
Marianne.
yeah.
Thank you
Enjoy.
so
Let us
much.
know how it
Okay.
goes.
Yeah. Okay.
All right.
See you
Bye.
shortly. Bye.
And thank you, Leela, for posting that.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah,
Appreciate
thanks.
And now finally Caesar.
it.
Oh my goodness. I think it's
Caesar.
about what, a month ago, 2 months ago, that you said, "Oh, I have a question for Tuesday." Last year sometime. How are
Yeah,
you?
yeah, good. Well, good, yeah. Yeah. I probably have 10 questions now. Yeah, so I don't even know like what to talk about. Basically, I think I relate a lot to what's been said so far by the two people before me. So I feel maybe it's not restlessness, but I feel like a lot of stuff coming up, like during like reaction and like difficulty in life, just like a lot of challenge. And yeah, finding difficult to navigate like the way I feel. I know this is just like an interpretation of what's going on, but it feels like there's a lot of things clarifying, but not not enough to give me like clarity. So it's like I'm in a rodeo with some clarity of some stuff, but like a lot of dirt coming up at the same time. And yeah, so like a lot of reactivity. For example, with my son, which is probably the one that it gets me the most, and I can see how stories catch me in a loop, but I also
Yeah.
see these patterns of like being very angry or like just moody and really not having capacity to be kind or nice to anyone at all. And I see it happening. I see my reactions, and then a lot of shame and guilt comes after that. And I just keep like in this loop of anger and guilt, and been trying to do the exercise to really look into it or just pay attention, stay in the gap, but it's been yeah quite difficult.
When you do the exercises, do you do them for a purpose? Do you do inquiry not to be reactive, or do you do inquiry to find out what this is about, or because that is just an add-on, that is just
Mm,
putting an extra load on an already, full plate.
yeah,
You know what I mean?
I see.
Some,
Yeah, definitely.
sometimes when we react, all we need to is just close our eyes and breathe. Not to be calm and not to react better and not to anything with a purpose, but just to close our eyes and breathe, Because if
Mm,
you already are full on with obligations that are being placed on you, and then you place another obligation because you have to be quiet, you have to react better than what you do, by the way.
yeah.
That on top is just another obligation, just another, demand on you, where it's one of the reasons why we put so much focus on, if there's resistance, notice if there's resistance to the resistance. Because there needs to be love and compassion and kindness somewhere.
Yeah.
And sometimes closing your eyes and breathing deeply, it's just to get back to the present moment where there's nothing but stillness, simplicity, or contentment. There's no doing it for a purpose, and it's not for you to react better, and it's not for you to have the surplus, anything. It's just to remind you of, hang on, what is actually reality right now? I really truly believe that I need to be a better dad. I really truly believe that that moron in traffic shouldn't have reacted like that. Okay. All that is just mind noise. But just by closing your eyes and breathing a moment, you get back to that stillness, simplicity, and contentment. There's no judgment about you yelling at somebody in traffic or yelling at your son. You're stretched very, very thin. And you just need compassion and kindness towards that. That is how it is to be, a dad to a young son. He will turn 18 eventually, and he will go to therapy eventually anyway, So be kind toward yourself.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I've been trying to, when I remember to do that, try to reparent myself.
Yeah.
But that's when what I mentioned about there's just so much stuff enmeshed in it. It's like so much, I think, shame. Like sometimes
Yeah.
when I'm giving myself,
Yeah.
I'm trying to give myself like a break.
Yeah.
I feel like the judgment, like, oh, you're just like full of shit. You're
Yeah.
like, why are you making up all these stories? You're like victimizing yourself, and it's just like so much stuff coming up at the same time. It's really, I get confused. Like, what am I doing? Try like to fix a problem that I can't seem to find a solution to.
But a lot of times we can't find a solution. And gaslighting yourself into telling that there's not an issue and you shouldn't act like that and toughen it up, Caesar, and don't make another story and don't be such a drama queen and all of that. It's just not kind. It's really, really not kind. The only thing that you need right now, it's kindness. You really need love, compassion, and kindness towards your situation. And when everything feels too much, it's probably because everything is too much. It's okay to feel that everything is too much. It probably is. So just breathe. Just take 5 minutes, 3 minutes, half a minute, where you just breathe. Just breathe. Close your eyes and calm down. Calm down. The judgment of yourself is not helping. It's just piling on. And it's okay to be exhausted. It's okay to be, overwhelmed by everything. It's okay. It's part of being human. So putting that on you, it's not okay for you, that's just unfair. You are enough. You don't need to prove that to anyone. You are enough. And it's okay that the situation is too much. It's okay. Really unconditional love and acceptance and unconditional go to a Korean spa. There's a Korean woman spa.
When she was talking about it, I was like, you know what? I never got a spa. I think I should try it.
Yeah, I can warmly recommend you. I'm a very, Denmark is very close to Germany, and they have like this huge spa tradition. I spoke with a Danish friend yesterday, and she was at midnight. No, I don't know if it was at midnight, but at nighttime, bathing in the ocean in Denmark. That's cold at the moment, but she was just enjoying the moon and all the planetary constellations at the moment, and being in that darkness and in that blackness and dipping in the cold water. It just brings you back to reality. When you're in like 6-degree cold water, you kind of get back to
brings you
reality.
right back to the present moment.
Yeah.
One thing I was going to say though, just to be aware of, because I agree with everything you say, but when you're trying to, like, be kind to yourself and give yourself a break and do the reparenting, and then you have those thoughts that come up that are kind of pushing this away and criticizing you and all of that. I'm curious what the purpose of those voices are, because it's probably not just random, right? It might be something where there's a conditioning that you've learned that it's not okay to do these things, but also just be curious if there is an aspect of Caesar who is like, you know, doesn't either want to do that practice, doesn't really want to do the self-love for some reason, or the reparenting, or doesn't feel like, you deserve the time for it, or there might be a lot of different reasons, but those thoughts can be that deflection to keep you from doing it. It's like that's the justification for not doing it. Don't look behind the curtain at all the real reasons why you are not doing it. But that's what's kind of being thrown out to keep you from it and to justify not doing it. So it would just be interesting for you maybe to go into why, where is the resistance from in the moment when you're trying to do it? Because it's not really those voices that are keeping you from doing it. There's a resistance below that that
Creating those
that's
voices.
creating those voices, or a reason for those voices to be there. So, kind of get a sense for, like, where is my resistance to giving myself love, or for taking a half hour off for me, or,
Yeah,
doing the,
we talked about women before being conditioned in a
yeah,
certain way. I mean, men are conditioned to not feeling anything, not having emotions, not being weak, not being sad, not being
yeah,
a real man. He can take all of it.
yeah,
That is such
toxic bullshit.
absolutely toxic bullshit. I mean, that's just so cruel.
Yeah,
That just because you are a certain gender, you're not allowed to have a breather once in a while. You're not allowed to,
have emotions,
yeah, have
or,
emotions, and being exhausted and
yeah,
being stretched thin,
yeah,
and feeling that is just enough.
yeah,
And it can be like, just like women, we have that, and men, you guys have that. We're not even aware that it's there. We're not even aware that it's just taken as a truth on
yeah.
par with when the
The
sun is
sun is
up.
that
It's daytime.
sunrises, sunsets.
Yeah,
Men are strong and can't have emotions. It's
yeah,
like we don't question.
Yeah. It's definitely been the case for quite a while. Like when I started being introduced to motion work, I was like, I couldn't feel anything. Crying felt just like my life was gonna fall apart. What is this? It's very foreign. But I think throughout the time, I moved more into this. Like I feel more like very maybe young energy. I would call like a child, like
yeah,
childlike energy a lot. And I manage most of the time to like kind of be kind to myself and do that. But every now and then this pattern comes back and like, I know you're doing too much of it, isn't it? You're bullshitting. You're like, you're too vulnerable. You're trying to escape something. I try to look into it, and the only thing I can feel is this energy, like a contraction, as if like I don't have the right to, like everything I do is wrong. It's like some kind of shame. I don't know what it is. Just like it's like I'm wrong. It doesn't matter what I do. Like it's the way I am is wrong. It's flawed somehow, and it's just I don't know what's the root of it or what's trying to deflect from. Or I don't know if it's one thing that I notice is like I don't feel a lot of I feel these reactive angers, but I don't feel like full on anger or I've
Mm,
been visiting a lot like childhood and working with this more therapeutic side of things, and I from what I see, like all the stuff that happened, there's never like anger towards it. It's always like crying, vulnerability. So I don't know.
mm,
I'm just trying to hide something, but I'm completely blind to it.
yeah. I think I think it's good to, like Todd says, really looking in at what is the underlying, motivation towards it. But if it doesn't introduce itself, then that looking for it can be a deflection
mm,
as well. So when you have anger rising in the moment, since you're not an angry person, that is definitely a deflection.
no.
That is definitely like, rah, don't go here. Do not look at this, because there's this guard dog
Mm,
in front of that emotion, because that is not okay. I think
Oh, so you mean when there's reactive anger, it's protecting from something?
yeah,
Is that what you mean?
yeah.
Okay.
If you can take that one, if you have like if you're like convinced that you're not okay, that you're flawed somehow, then you obviously don't want to feel that and look into that and you know me, I would, bang the door open and invite you into being inadequate. I mean, because you're also inadequate. You're also so many other things, but you need to be okay with being inadequate. You need to be okay with, being funny, being good at math, being inadequate, we need to be okay with all of it, because otherwise there are things that we're desperately trying to avoid. And it needs to land in a place where people go like, oh, for fuck's sake, Caesar, you're absolutely useless. And you can say, I know. You want to hear a story? Where you're
Mm.
completely fine with it. Absolutely. Yeah, I know. Absolutely useless. You should watch me shovel snow. Ha! But it's just like, and you're completely fine with it. The moment we fight against something, we give it more power than it actually has. You
Mhm.
cannot be good at everything. You must be inadequate at something. We're all inadequate at something. Then there are other stuff that we're amazing at, but there's some things that we're just absolutely inept. And we need to be okay with that.
And that's the thing, is that, like you say, there are some things that I'm sure you are amazingly good at and you excel at, and other things that, yeah, it's just not your thing. You're not good at. But the problem is that we take certain things to be to point to, like, this defines me.
Mm,
The weaknesses or the things that I'm not as good at are the ones that I'm picking up on to define my character or who I am at a much deeper level, which isn't true. It's just very selective. We're cherry picking the things that we either think if it's something where we're doing the opposite and we're like, massive ego and I'm so great at this. Look at how far I can throw a football. If it's something like that, it's like, okay, great, but how are your English skills? How are your math skills? Like, whatever. Like, we are very selective. If we want to bolster our ego, we pick the couple things that we are good at compared to other people. And if we feel like we are not good, there's something basically inherently flawed with us, then we will cherry pick and find all the places that we could improve upon. But recognize that it's only in comparison to what you think other people are doing,
mm,
how good you think somebody else is in comparison to that. So we're, for one thing, taking a very small bit of our overall, uh, personality traits or aptitudes, selecting those out as being the overarching, hallmark of this entire being. And then we're using that thing in comparison to our view of somebody else and what other people do. And I must be inept because they are so much better at meditating than I am. And I'm just sitting here hearing my thoughts and my to-do lists for an hour. You're assuming what other people in that situation are doing and how their minds are and all of this. And so it's a nested idea of, like, it's like a wrong assumption based on a wrong assumption. And then what we get to after you do all this, and I don't say this because I don't want you to bypass the work of coming to the acceptance of it to begin with, but hopefully through this you can also start to realize that the idea of inadequacy or adequacy or good, bad, any of that is absolutely meaningless. It's
mm,
completely relative based on whatever small sample we're using to judge that thing by. And there's no inherent Caesar who can be inherently good, bad, adequate, inadequate, flawed, perfect. It's just absolutely meaningless at the very heart of it. So we can question all of these things because, when you hear that voice coming up, it's like this bully older brother or somebody who's there, feeding all of this shit to you. But we can have that kind of wisdom of being like, wait a minute, you're telling me that there's a boogeyman in the closet who's going to kill me. I've been in the closet. I've seen that closet does not have anybody in there. Like I can turn the light on and see that it doesn't exist. And you can have that same rational view of these feelings of inadequacy that like, okay, yeah, so I'm not good at math. You know, that's fine. That doesn't say anything about me as a person or my inherent worth as a human being on the planet or as some, cloud of moving particles in this vast expanse of a universe. It is completely absurd. But it helps to have these like layers that you can kind of view it from these different lenses
Mm.
to pull it apart and see how much is conditioned, how much is just unexamined belief, and how much is just, completely illogical. When you look at like the entire movement of the cosmos, right? Like picture you're looking down at the view of the Milky Way from above, and it's like there is a speck that is completely invisible in there that is a planet. And there is an imaginary speck that is so tiny, 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 tiny that we're calling Caesar. And that is really inadequate compared to this entire Milky Way and all of the other trillions of galaxies that are, beyond that. I mean, it is just fucking pointless. Like it's so insane to think that there is any inherent value or lack of value in this complete
Importance in
or
that,
importance in
yeah,
in this
value or lack
tiny
of value.
tiny tiny little moving mass of atoms that are interacting with all the other atoms around it. Like
Yeah, so
it's
see, so
absurd.
what we basically are saying is you're too insignificant and you're too unimportant to have these issues.
You shouldn't care. You're not that important.
You're not that important.
No, but the amazing thing about the mind is that we can get locked into
Yeah.
these beliefs that are just programmed and unexamined, but we can also have these like incredibly vast imaginations where we can really view things from these higher perspectives that put all of these other ways that we just unconsciously go about life into a completely different perspective. And I mean, it changes the way that the body feels. It changes the way that we interact with life just based on this one shift of how the mind can view experience. And we're very much, if we take it from like the little me locked in a box of inadequacy, that's just one perspective of this lens. It's the camera shining in one particular little corner of the room, not realizing that it can turn around and see this entire vastness behind it.
It's what I'm talking about in the material where I talk about that you have a headlamp on, and whatever that headlamp is pointing to is the only thing that is lit in your awareness. You're not aware of everything around it. And it's one of the things that I really like about Buddhism, and that I really like about being a Buddhist teacher, that we're so focused on the middle way. So whenever you bring something to a scale, we will put something on the other side of the scale to get you into a balance. We listened to an Alan Watts talk the other day where he said that a Buddhist teacher would basically be, if you come and say, I believe in a God, the Buddhist teacher will say there is no God. And if you come to the Buddhist teacher and say, I don't believe in a God, the Buddhist teacher will say there is a God. Because it's that about bringing everything into a balance and then finding the middle way. Because also what you pointed to, that it's not about having that feeling of inadequacy. The solution is not being ego inflated and narcissistic.
Right. Exactly.
Because it's the same problem.
Yep.
It's the same starting point.
Yep.
But there's something about that balance, about getting into the middle of way of it, that is not about feeling inadequate, but it's not about feeling bloated either.
No.
It's about noticing that neither are truth, neither are real, neither are indicative of anything. There is not a Caesar anywhere. There is no one to feel inadequate. Yet here we are, So it's really that about finding into that balance, and I really loved everything you pointed to.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, thank you guys. That's been very
Yeah.
helpful.
So good seeing you.
So good
Finally
seeing you.
coming to a Tuesday.
Right. Yeah,
Yeah.
right.
See you in 4 months.
Yeah, cheers. Thank you. Bye.
Okay, bye.
Bye. have Janine.
Yay.
Hello.
Hello.
Long time no see.
Good seeing you again.
How have you
Hi.
been?
Hi. On the wings of Caesar, I was thinking that there's parts of me that don't feel very pleased about what they seem to be asshole parts. And lately it occurred to me that it'd be really fun playing a bad guy. Like, now here's the opportunity to just, and you don't have to feel guilty because that's the job, be the bad guy. So maybe I'll try to find some improv theater or something.
Yeah.
Perfect. Much better to do it there than in like on the street.
Yeah.
with the code on it. Janine going around being the bad guy.
So
Pagging in it like that. Being the bad guy. The parking lot.
I signed up for the retreat, and due to causes and conditions wasn't able to actually attend. It's been so volatile lately. For many months I've been working Fetters 4 and 5, and somewhere along the line I felt like, okay, I'm going in, I've got to ramp up the TRE. I found a facilitator to help with that, and she was also helping me with gap work, going into the Kevin Shanlek approach. And it brought up like so much darkness. It was getting scary and unmanageable. So I felt like I had to pull back a little bit. And so from that time, it's been, I don't know, maybe a couple of months now, I've been soothing the body. I feel like this nervous system has been bracing its entire life against the world, and it's very high strung and completely fried. So I found a technique, coherent breathing, and that's been very soothing practice to do a couple of times a day. Also, the TRE, I had to stop. I had to just, it was just bringing up too much. And I've been taking long baths, long hot Epsom salt baths, and that's been just wonderful. So I've been told that it seems to be the perfect storm with me. I'm having menopausal symptoms as well, like hot flashes with a fury, and sleeping difficulties at night. Sometimes I can't fall back asleep, and it seems like all hell is breaking loose. And so I tried two or three times to find someone to help me with trauma work, because it seems as though yes, Pandora's box has been opened and it's all coming out to be seen and met. And there's a belief in me that I don't know what the hell I'm doing. I got to go to someone who knows what they're doing with this stuff, because clearly, like, what do I do? And time and again, it just kind of falls through. It's not working. It's just not working. One person that I was to work with, we had planned on a meeting, and there was like a no call, no show, which brought up a bunch of trust and abandonment issues. And here I'm, Pandora's box is already opened, and now this screaming like insane. And what could I do? I had no one here. So I just did a TRE practice of 30 minutes because I knew that, well, that'll release whatever stuff. And it did. So, I have no idea what I'm doing. I also, that weekend of your retreat, I had an energy session, and during the energy session, it came up that, like, the cosmic joke has been kind of seen. I get it. This is like, when I think about it, it's quite amusing that, like, there really is no hierarchy. There's no teachers and students, and this is kind of like a context, and it really, and yet that's there, but in it, oh my God, it feels anything but. So the person I was working with was feeling as though this insistence on my will, I'm gonna go through this trauma stuff, is not working so well, because I've, in some sense, seen through this, and I can't just something in me that can't take it so seriously. So it's a big conundrum for me, because on the one hand, I don't want to do any spiritual bypassing, but I also don't want to do psychological bypassing. I didn't know that that was a thing, that you could actually, hang out in the abyss and get lost in that aspect. And at the same time, there's a very strong belief, I probably had it all my life, that I don't know how to do this on my own. I need somebody to help from outside, and it's not forthcoming. So, as I said, I don't know what I'm doing. And what I had been doing lately is I went back to Fetter 2, because I was skipping around the Fetters, and it was all feeling like annoying. But then when I went to Fetter 2, you talk about a body yes, body no. I'm
Yeah.
really relying on that, because I don't know what I'm doing, but I know, okay, and then definitely not that. So I don't even know what my question.
No, it's okay. It's okay. I think that your biggest issue is that you're trying to intellectually understand something that is not for you to understand. Just breathe. Just breathe. I can warmly recommend you, like I just recommended to Marianne, to put the percussion track on, and you can just stand and you have a hip width between your feet. That is where you're putting your feet on the ground like that, and then your toe into your heel and out. That is a hip width with your feet, right? And then you just stand and pump. Do you remember the pumping exercise? So you just put your weight into your feet and you bend your knees slightly, you have your bum a bit back, and you just stand and you pump, because it's grounding you. It's getting everything out from the head and just into the body, into the body, into the body. When you are delusional, say, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. It's true, you don't. I mean, who do you think you are? Of course you don't. Of course you don't. None of us know. None of us know. It's the wisdom of ignorance. We don't know. But we can get out of the way and allow the body to release, whatever needs to be released. We can just allow the body to experience what is happening and then express it. And you do that with the percussion track. If you're up for it, then at the retreat, because you already have the access to the retreat material, right, for the 4th and the 5th, there are some amazing meditations. Then they're inquiry meditations that Todd he did. And you start with the one that is for the morning one, and then you take the first one on day 1, and then you just do them in sequence, because all of them are weaved together. And you do it in your own speed, and you just completely surrender, where you just sit and listen to Todd's voice and just allow it to go in. You don't need to grab on it or understand it or tweak it. Just be open and allow all of it to wash over you. And then let your body take care of the rest. See if you can take like a bit of a breather with all this, because you're very forceful and hell-bent about understanding, and the whole point of it is to end at the 10th fetter, where you learn about the wisdom of ignorance. You can't understand. We're not omnipotent. Omniscient. We're not omniscient. We can, whenever we think that I get it, we're delusional. You don't. You get a little snippet, a little bite of something. You have like a little nibble of an insight. It's not all of it. It's not all of it. And the main theme in the entire curriculum, it is about teaching you to get back to your direct experience, back to this present moment right now, out of your head, like we did with the meditation earlier, out of your head and just into your bum, into your feet, into your breath, and just be present in this moment, because you're confusing yourself.
Mhm.
And it's really not fair. You know, you're such a wonderful person. So breathe, enjoy.
There's such a habit of going to the mind.
Yeah.
Mhm.
uh, I see so clearly the mind either wants to be solving a problem, and when it gets too hot and heavy, then it thinks about something that feels better, but it's
Mm.
all going to the mind. And
Yes.
I'm yelling like, no, I don't, just stop. And that's another voice. And it's, oh God. Okay. So body, where do I feel? What do I feel? Just seat in the chair, just breath. It's just
Feel your bum in the seat. Feel your bum in the seat. When I say bum in the seat, the mind immediately knows, okay, I know where my bum is. I know where the seat is. But if you just sit for more than 60 seconds, you will start to notice that you do not even feel where your bum is or where the seat is. It's just a buzzing sensation. It's just a buzzing sensation. If you notice, if you think of your feet, the mind has, okay, I know where the feet are. I know where the feet are. And we start to feel our feet. And then not even within 60 seconds, you start to notice that that sensation that you have in your feet is not even feet shaped. It's just a buzzing sensation happening in open space. There is nothing you can rely on in your mind. There will be a few things in your life, like don't go down that dark alley, don't go into that white unmarked van, pay your taxes. There are few things in life where we actually need our mind. The rest of the time, it's a relic that is helping us to survive. But we don't need to survive when we're sitting in our living room and the sun is shining and everything is fine. But thoughts will always occur because you have a brain, and the brain is constantly thinking. You just don't need to believe any of it. Just because the mind tells you that you have a problem, it doesn't mean that you do. It's just the next drama that the mind is drumming up. In this moment right now, what problem do you actually have? And if you think about it, the mind will, I am a bit thirsty. I am a bit chilly. I am a bit, the mind will always grasp at something. And then it will say, okay, I hear you. Besides that, what is actually a problem right now? It's just mind created. Mental formations. It's mind noise.
And always an assumption that it could be different. So even if you have if you're sitting there and your mind is going and you're feeling all these turbulent emotions that are running through, the only way that that can be a problem is if you have this other idea existing at the same time that it should be otherwise. It should be, I should be calm, I should be quiet, I should be feeling no emotions or just positive, blissful ones. I don't want whatever this is. And so you're constantly in that state of agitation because the mind is doing its thing. And all of us have different biologies. Some brains are just more inherently quiet than other brains. Some brains generate prolific thoughts, others generate fewer thoughts. That's in itself is not a problem. It's not that the one mind is more awake than another mind or that there's a benefit to one versus the other. It's the assumption that you have this like underlying thing because you've studied spirituality for so long. We have this idea that quiet mind is good, busy mind is bad.
A bit like we talked with Marianne about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So as long as you have these preconceived notions in mind, you're always judging, but I've done so much meditation. Why am I acting like this? Why am I thinking like this? Why is this moment the way it is? I do all of these retreats. Why is this not? But it's just your assumptions and expectations about how this moment should be, which aren't going to align. with the reality of it. No matter what expectations we have, they are virtually never correct. So what you want to do is just to recognize there is nothing inherently problematic about Janine with whatever is going on in the mind and body in this moment. Like you always say, can you find the acceptance, first of all, of the fact that, there's emotional stuff showing up here. You're feeling emotions. Okay, why is that a problem? Why is it a bad thing to feel like you want to cry or to feel like you want to laugh? Why is it a problem to have mind that goes in these different directions? Come to the acceptance that this is the way that it is, and then also see if you can lose that judgment that it should be another way, and embrace the fact that this is what the life looks like through this particular little lens of being. There are like roughly 9 billion different ways of human seeing on the planet right now, and there are trillions or quadrillions or however many of different types of insect seeings and other types of animal seeings, and everyone is its own little unique perspective of this universe. Right now, what we call a Janine perspective is showing up in this one particular way. And it's very vivid, and there are lots of emotions, and there are lots of thoughts, and it's like partially here and partially in the mind, and it's this whole kaleidoscope of things happening. And there's only a resistance to it if we feel like it should be like that bee is feeling right now. I've seen that other meditation teacher, and I don't know, he seems awfully quiet. I think I want his lens instead. So it's really recognizing, well, what is the Janine lens now? Can I accept that? And then also notice that the Janine lens now is not the same as the Janine lens 6 months ago. And it's not going to be the same as the Janine lens in 6 hours. It's just recognizing that this is one particular experience. Full stop. This is how it is right now. It doesn't connect to the past, and it doesn't connect to an imaginary future. It is just this experience. And can you see it, that this is just simply the way that life is being observed and experienced in this moment, in this bubble for you? This is just that, and that it doesn't need to be any way else, and it can't be.
My mate and I have a running joke that makes us both smile. And I hope we remember to use it more often, but we look at each other and say, what if this is good as it gets?
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
Yep.
It's one of the pointers in one of the higher fetters, I can't remember which one, where we say this is as good as it gets. Yeah, it is.
It's the only way it can be. It's the only way it can get.
Thanks, guys.
Thank
you so
It's
much.
so good seeing
Everyone
you.
for holding space. I really appreciate it.
Yeah,
Of course.
absolutely.
We're happy to have you here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So that's Susan.
Hey, Susan.
Hello.
Still muted.
There
Hey,
we go.
Hello.
how are you?
Hi, good to see you.
I'm pretty good. I'm so happy to be here, and thanks to everyone who contributed so far. And I had, oops, wait a second. I had a week ago, I always keep you on two things. A week ago, I was driving to San Francisco on the highway, and I was in this horrible crash, this horrible multi-car crash. I know, it was crazy. And I'm so happy I'm alive. I'm so happy I'm not horribly injured.
My
Oh
God.
my God.
I know, it was just horrible. And I'm gotta turn this one off. I've got you on two things and it's driving me crazy. Because because I find I can listen better to this when I'm walking around, actually. So I put my ear pods in with my cell phone, I walk around and I do little tasks and
Yeah.
Very good.
or walk outside. But anyway, so it was this really horrible crash, and I wanted to add one sweet thing was that I was listening to the you guys on the sofa sit when the crash, it was on a long drive and I was listening to you. And then I blacked out during the crash, and when I woke up, you were still there, and I thought, oh, that's sweet. They're still with me. But
Oh my God.
I wanted to ask, like, I guess I have a couple questions, but how do you have advice to how to? I don't think even the shock is totally worn off. It's like wearing
No,
off
no.
and things. And I have a lot of minor, like, um, minor little aches and pains. And I know really a great physical therapist I'm working with and healers.
But
But I wanted to know if you have advice around healing from that kind of trauma. And also I have this feeling that it sounds so crazy, but I had this trauma the month before that I had shared with Todd, where this child in my life who I'm super close to was diagnosed with this illness, and he's doing much better. But I just have this feeling that there's this opportunity in these to really strengthen my awareness, my growth, because I used the Fetter so much when that child was in the hospital. And I feel like this is kind of an opportunity.
it absolutely is.
Yeah.
It absolutely is.
I just need to blow my nose.
Yeah, do.
Oh, first off, sorry. Okay, sorry. Just want to say I'm so glad that you're okay.
Yeah,
And
goodness.
Yeah, thank
My
you.
goodness.
Me too. Me too. I'm so glad I'm alive. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And I'm glad I'm alive, and I'm glad I'm not horribly ill. That's or
Yeah.
horribly hurt.
Yeah.
When things like that happens, like accidents, it's such a great reminder to us about impermanence, about and I know that because of your nephew, that is that you're already in that space of being aware of impermanence, and that whatever we believe is, it's just a belief. It's not how it actually is. It's just a belief in how we think things are. When we experience a traffic accident, it's such a reminder of, everything is fine. Now it's not.
Mm.
It's like that with life. There is nothing that is permanent. There is nothing that is written in stone, or we make plans as if we're having a retreat and as if we're having these meetings once a month, but we don't know what's going to happen in an hour. We have no idea. And traffic accidents are amazing at reminding us about that. The thing where it goes in and becomes traumatic, it is that we're forced to become aware of. What was that?
I don't know. Something just fell in the other room. I'm forced to become aware. Something just smashed.
Yeah. But is that
I'm just gonna go look and make sure I don't need to clean something. I'll be right back. Sorry.
It's that that we're being forced to become aware about impermanence. And when we slowly can become aware of it and have insights through meditation and inquiries and have that, oh yeah, that's right, there is nothing that stays the same, then it feels much nicer than when we are forced into it. And that's why a lot of people that are in accidents or are experiencing impermanence where they're forced to it, that they go into complete trauma. Because it's also why you hear a lot of people that get a diagnosis of cancer and then they suddenly wake up and they are just awake. They're just, their outlook of life has completely changed. And even, if they're cured and their entire outlook has changed, they quit their job and they become organic farmers. And, because we have an insight to what is here all the time. When we experience a traffic accident like that, for a lot of us, it's activating the part of our childhood where we could not decide what happened to our bodies and to our psychology and to our emotional stability, where adults decided over us and we felt not seen, and we felt not heard, and we felt not safe in any way. It's usually that is being activated with a traffic accident. Sitting from here, it seems like you're very, how can I say, stable about it, that you're very calm about what has happened and you're very much aware of it. So would you share where you have pain in your body? Because that tells me a bit about.
It's a lot of, yeah, I do. I feel so grateful to be alive. I mean, it was so obvious I could have been killed, and it was so obvious I could have been just horribly mangled. And so I think I have a lot of gratitude. And I do have this feeling that it's about my awakening. I really do. With my nephew and this together, like, I just have this feeling that it's this new path for me. And so I think that gives me stability. And but I have a lot, like my neck, I had whiplash, I hit my head really hard. We were spinning, and so it's been a week. So but my neck definitely I feel it in my hips. I mean, it's a little bit all over, really.
Yeah.
I mean, a friend of mine who's a
I mean,
regular, yeah.
no, I mean, having pain after been spinning over, that's absolutely
Mm.
completely normal. It's just if it sounds to me like you're doing all the right things. Um, if it meant the part about the neck is because when we are in a traffic accident, when we are stopped like that, the head is not made to hold, the muscles are not strong enough,
Yeah.
so we can get that whiplash
Yeah.
feeling. The neck is the connection between the intellect and the body. So again, like I have said to multiple people now, I would recommend all types of embodiment. Um, but I would recommend you to do, for example, if you do existential release, then do it lying down on your side. So you have a pillow under your neck and then you just move, from the pelvic floor. If you do the cat cow, that you do it lying down on the side so you have support in when you're doing the movement. Because you're still, we don't know where the tension is and what underlying beliefs are pulling in different muscles in you. So the more support you can give to your body, the better. But I would recommend you to have, like, shakes whenever you think of the accident, and if you hear the sounds, or if you feel in the body the tumble that happened, shake it out. Like animals are doing, just shake it out. So whenever it comes up, that you can react in a way, or respond in a way that is helpful. Um, do all the 12 exercises from Move into Awakening, the daily body exercises. Do you remember?
Yeah. From the first retreat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm, do all
Yeah.
12, but do them lying down on the side. And I know it's obviously pumping you can do where you're standing, and you can feel how much of it you can do. And we might wanting to do more swayy, that you want to do shaking, but feel what feels right in the body. But just allow the body to experience and express.
This is I want to hear what Todd has to say too, but I have a kind of related question, which is that I've been training myself since the first retreat. Like I feel like I say, oh, I feel emotion. I go, no, it's not emotion. I guess the question is, how do I tell when it's second fetter and something coming up to release? And how do I tell that I'm making up a story? Because the other day, and the shock is wearing off in layers, right? Because it was a big
Yeah.
shock. And
Yeah.
I don't think it's totally gone.
No, it's not. It's not.
And but then I was like, and I'm just resting a lot too. I'm trying to just really be quiet
Yeah.
and still and resting.
Yeah.
But so I was lying in my bed and and then I was like, I was feeling all like what I would say was trauma. And I was like, no, it's not trauma. Feel the emotion, feel the emotion. I mean, feel the sensation. It's just a thought. And then I was like, no, this is trauma. And I realized I was just tightening, tightening, tightening.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay. So I got up and I started moving and I started shaking and I started
Yeah.
crying. And so I thought, is that like, how do we know? Yeah, that's my question is that how we know that it's old trauma? Because I just started
Yeah.
tightening and I didn't want to move at all. And then I was like, oh,
Yeah.
wait, now you got to move.
Yeah. Your body knows. It was your mind that told yourself, no, this is not trauma. This is just emotion. That was your mind. Your body told you. It came from down and up.
Yeah.
It came from the inside, where I need to cry, or I need to shake, or I need to. So see if you can kind of like mentally take a back seat and just allow your body, because it will come in waves, and there
Yeah.
is still trauma. It's not that quick,
Yeah.
quickly sorted. So just allow the body to experience and express, and see if you can take a back seat on it and just allow the body to do what it needs to do.
Yeah, that's my feeling, is that it'll be it's going to take a while for
Absolutely, absolutely.
the trauma to come out, for the alignment to
Yeah,
realign.
yeah.
But I
And
want to come out new. That's what I want. I want to come out in a new level of awareness.
yeah, well, you already have. You already have, you know? You already have. Whenever we experience that wake up call into what impermanence actually mean, what it actually is, then you can also feel that just sitting in a chair and breathing, there is impermanence in that too. It's not only in the big stuff with traffic accidents or people dying. It is happening right now. There are cells that are ending right now, and there are, new cells that are being formed, and there's nourishment with an inhalation, and there's detoxing with an exhalation. And it's just that noticing that impermanence that is here all the time in every single moment. There's not a persistent um linear experience of everything. Time is not weaved together. That's the mind that does that. So really become aware. I can recommend you to do the 7 fetter material, actually, where you're at now, because that is really dissolving that idea of time, and a sense of permanence in how I am here and I remember a month ago, which means that a month ago happened to me. That is completely mind made. There's nothing here now that was there a month ago. So that impermanence in the that we experience in the macro, we can take the knowledge of into the micro, and really notice that this moment and this moment and this moment is just new and new and new.
I hear that, and then I also think, I hear that, and then I go, but I still feel the pain from the accident, which was not this moment.
Do you want to do that?
Well, I was gonna say, you feel sensation now. It's the mind that's putting together, and it's not to say that on one level of speaking, of course, there was some sort of multi-car accident and things happen. But right now, in your perspective, sitting in this room, that is just a thought, right? All you can say right now is that there's some tension in the neck. There's a little achiness in the hips, or have a headache or something like that. If you just woke up with amnesia right now, you would have no idea why you felt those things. You would just feel them. And it's kind of related to like your question about whether it's trauma versus something else. Ultimately, that distinction isn't really even necessary if you are just going into the body and allowing it to do its thing. It doesn't really matter whether that urge of emotion that was coming up is because there is a shock response from the accident, or because it was some you smell the fragrance right now that brought you back to when you were 17 and it triggered some emotion, or whether it's just some cascade of emotion that has some other origin that you can't even determine right now. It's really about, instead of mentally trying to categorize all of these things and understand it that way, just being in the body, and like Pernille said, just allowing it to express in one way or another. Um, I love what you were doing with going into, okay, this is just sensation. I can feel it here, and I can that, and that's all very true. And that's both true of whether it's coming from a trauma or some other memory, or just, something that's showing now. But if we really want to just allow it to work its way out, it's working out separately from the mind anyway. The mind isn't the one that is releasing these traumas from the body. At best, it's like an outside observer who's kind of making note of it after the fact. It's not really a participant in it in that way. If you're doing all of the embodied exercises, it is just moving out on its own. So you don't have to categorize in that way. It's more important to just recognize, oh, this is what is being felt right now, and then doing what that's calling for. Um, it, it's it pulls us into that habit of thinking we can like rationalize and understand our way through everything. And if I can categorize this sensation, then I can do something about it and I can fix that. And it has that same kind of mentality behind it of fixing and ordering and structuring and all of that.
A
And
bit like Caesar talked about.
yeah, and what we really need, especially for you, I think, is that letting go, that ability to just recognize that I actually don't know why this is here. I can't say that this sensation is here because of an accident or for some other reason, but I don't need to know. I just have to honor it while it's here and do whatever the natural thing is. Not to, it's the flip side of that. I mean, one is to say that I know what this is, so now I know which tools to apply so I can do it to fix it or to get something out of it. Or the opposite is to look at it and go, um, well, I know what that is, so I don't have to think about it anymore, or I can categorize it and write it off, or we don't want to do any of that. Whatever definition and association you make of it isn't helping any of it move through. It's just taking you out of the experience. It's putting you back in the head and back into that doership role that has been, a habit for so long. It's like the one who can fix things and who has to do things right and all of that. It's just feeding into that old pattern of behavior. So we're just putting all of that aside and just allowing the body to be very primal. It feels something, it shakes it out and it lets it go. It feels something and it moves a certain way until it something comes out. A spontaneous eruption of emotion or crying or something happens. We don't have to rationalize it or define it or understand why. It just happens. And that's really letting go not only of the trauma, but also of those underlying patterns that are just, Susan in control, Susan doing the right thing. And I think that's going to have such an effect just by letting all of that be.
I love that. So like an example would be, say I'm just doing something and I just feel my neck and I go, oh yeah. Instead of going, oh, the car accident, just go, oh, yeah, okay, there's some tenderness. Maybe what does it want right now? What do I need right
Yeah.
now?
Exactly.
And not because I heard something in your words where it's like if I keep saying, oh wait, that's a car accident. Oh, because I wake up in the morning and I can feel like I go, oh yeah, all right, yeah, that I'm still working on that. But if I keep saying it's a car accident, then it's gonna kind of create more trauma because is that what you're saying? Like part
Yeah,
of it is freeing
it's gonna make a lot of something out of nothing.
And
because that car accident is done. What you're saying is
exactly.
it's not here. It's not
It's
here.
not here. Exactly. You
And it's
have
gone forever in one sense.
yes, completely. Yeah, there's like I said, if you don't have a memory of it, then we can't say that, you would have no idea that you're waking up in the morning with this pain because of that. And, if we really want to get heady about it, you don't even know if the accident happened. Like right now, sitting there, it could be a false memory. You could be in some sort of a psychosis where you really believe that you were in a car accident that never happened. And actually, it turns out that you just, you fell an hour ago and you don't remember it, but your hip aches because of that. But you have in mind this idea. So but so we don't really, within reason, we don't really know. We can't say for sure from this standpoint. So all we can do is just to interact with what's here as it stands from this perspective. But the other thing that I think is really important is when you have, because I don't want you to bypass any of those thoughts that do come up about it. What's really helpful is, say you wake up and you feel the sensation and you have a memory of the car accident and you have like an image, flash of what was there, or not an image, but like, or well, maybe for you, it's some other memory that shows up. You have an experience of memory of this was the car accident, and you're probably feeling in that moment not just the sensation in the hip or the neck or the head, you probably also feel some sort of fear or, contraction about the emotion, the shock of being in a car accident, because that can have a lot of, lingering emotionality. So instead of going right to the physical ailments of the injury, and instead of being stuck in the story of car accident, give time to feel the emotion of it. Feel the grief. There's like that grief of like I could have died, and you can might feel that. You might feel the sadness that arises with it. Perhaps the sadness for other people who maybe didn't
Yeah.
make it through. Feeling, survivor's guilt is a real issue. If you notice that coming up, you can have all sorts of different emotions that, that the worry and the anxiety that might start building up out of that. If you start to notice every time you get in the car, there are associations, things like that can happen. So instead of just pushing all that away, notice that you've got a thought that arises that has to do with an accident, and then there's an emotion that comes on in the body right away, and just be with that emotion. Just feel the raw sensations of that emotion and just allow it to be there so we're not deflecting from it. And that alone is going to have a lot of power in unbinding its effects, because if we don't do that, that's the sort of thing that can just build upon itself over and over again until we end up with sorry, I want to mute whoever is. Somebody's got an open microphone. Just gonna mute all. Sorry, I'm gonna mute you by accident, Susan. You can unmute yourself again. So it's preventively, so that we're not
Oh, it's Susan.
okay. I guess it's you. I'm sorry. It's our echo. That's fine. Okay, gonna mute you now for a second. So we are preventively in this moment feeling the sensations of the emotion so that they don't build into something else that you're going to have to deal with in the future. It's basically stopping before it can grow into something much bigger. Just deal with what's here now in the small bite size of. I always hate the metaphor. I got to come up with a better one. There's you don't eat an elephant entirely. You eat it bite by bite, and it's a terrible quote because who wants to eat an elephant? But it's like you don't eat an elephant-sized marshmallow in entirety. You eat it bite by bite, and it's that. So instead of dealing with some 10 years from now, some big trauma about the accident, you're just feeling the emotions that arise about it right now and just letting that be here and moving the body and letting it do its thing without allowing it to just grow and grow.
I love that. I just have one thing to add,
Yes,
and
please.
it was before, Susan, when you talked about that you wake up in the morning and you have that in your neck and you go like, oh, that's the accident. I just building on everything that Todd just said, just be aware that might be true, but it might also not be true. It might be that because you're going through so much physio right now, that you actually need another pillow. It might be that you know what I mean? That we have this idea when something really has happened in our life, that is the explanation to everything. And it might not be, I'm not really hungry right now. It's because of the accident. Well, you might have the beginning of a stomach flu. It might be something completely different you should be aware of. But it's that it takes up so much in our mind that we tend to make it bigger than it actually is. And a bit taking us away from this moment and noticing the kink I have in the neck. I wonder, would a different pillow be helpful? Would lying in a different way in the bed be helpful? Is there a draft coming in that I suddenly feel that I haven't felt before? So you constantly click reboot regarding the body because so many things are happening right now.
And like Todd was saying, it doesn't matter. The story
Yeah.
doesn't matter. Yeah, maybe my
Exactly.
neck hurts a little bit. It doesn't matter why.
Yeah.
So just, yeah, that's so incredibly helpful. And I have two follow-up questions. I love how much space I'm taking up too.
I know this is great for
I
you
know,
in
I'm
so
so
many ways.
excited because I'm not even feeling guilty. I'm like, wow, I really did change, even just now.
That's amazing.
So I have two questions. one with the impermanence, and this is such a basic question.
Yeah.
And it's to remember the impermanence because that is the awakening. I mean, that is the path of awakening. Like, because you were saying, remember, Pernille, in the beginning, you were saying, remember impermanence, impermanence. And I was like, it's so basic, but is that why we do that? Is to be like,
Well,
because
it's
there's this moment?
yeah, it's because we are in this we are living in this delusional bubble where we believe that we are permanent, that it was my childhood, and because of how my parents treated me in my childhood, I am an asshole today, but I actually have a reason to be. It's that we have this idea that they are like tentacles, or what do you call those that a jellyfish have, those
Yeah,
long
tentacles.
tentacles into everything.
But
But
yeah,
but
actually,
but there's not, though. We just made that.
what a
We just created that. It's the seven feather something out of nothing. Every moment is now no longer here. It's another moment. Now it's another moment. The the way you felt in your body before we started to talk and the way you feel now proves that it's not the same Susan. It's not that there's nothing that is permanent. There's nothing that is predictable or maintaining or anything. That there can't be. And it's one of the reasons why we put so much emphasis on being in the present moment and experiencing whatever is arising right now, because it is the only thing that we have. The rest is mental formations.
and in Buddhism, it's one of the three impossibles that we have this craving for things to be permanent. I always want to be happy. I always want to be healthy. I want to live forever. I want my relationships to
To
live
last.
forever
Yeah.
and never to lose anybody around me. And I want to be financially stable forever. I want whatever it is. Uh, it's like we're constantly clinging to that attachment that I have something good. I want that to last. I'm so afraid of it. I have this coffee mug and I love this mug and I never want it to break. And we have so much suffering about the concern about what happens when this thing goes. What happens if I drop it? What happens if this person dies? What happens if? And so that clinging for permanency creates so much of our suffering. And so, like Pernilla said, on one hand, it's creating that sense of a self that is moving consistently through time and has some sort of roots throughout the years and is going to be projected forward in time, far into the future. But also it's the root of all of our suffering when we don't recognize the fact that literally everything is impermanent. And the more we can accept that and come to terms with it, then when things are here and we enjoy them, that's great. And when things die or go or break or end, we can accept that that is the way that it was always going to be. And there can be a real peace and equanimity with that. And it's also helpful because we can recognize when we're in the middle of pain or some, scary situation or something, that too is impermanent and it's also not going to last. And so even in those times that we feel like this is the darkest moment of my life and it's never going to end, it will. It's the positive side that nothing lasts, both the good and the bad. So there are a lot of different levels to the insight of impermanence, which is why we point to it a lot.
Thank you both so much. I feel so grateful for you
We're so
both
happy you're here.
for
We're
the
so
community.
happy you're here. Yeah.
You
So
too.
so glad that you're okay.
Yeah.
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 Thank you so
So
much.
to hear that.
And
Yeah.
thank you for this time. This is incredibly supportive and helpful. And thank you for being with me in the accident. And
Yeah,
Oh,
so
yeah,
happy
you're
we were
welcome.
there. That's
and the
amazing.
sofa
I'm
fit.
really glad we were there after it too.
Yeah.
That's
You were.
wonderful.
Yeah.
Oh,
Thank you
hey,
both.
Thank
thank
you.
you so
Everyone.
much.
Thank you to everyone.
Thank you. Bye. And there was oh, yes, Allison, we will pause the recording in just a moment. I saw that there was a question from somebody in the chat. If you don't mind, I just want to grab that quick. Let me go back to it. There's a trend today that there's an underlying belief that we can do or are doing something wrong. How can you possibly know what is the right way? Yeah,
Yeah, we don't.
exactly. No, agreed, cannot know. And then Yeah, Caesar
Nils
laugh.
asked about the headless way.
Thank you. That's what I knew. I saw something about a headless way pop up. Thanks, Leila. Nil said, do you guys have any experience of the headless way exercises? In case you know it, what fetter do you think that correlates to? Yeah. So
Fetter, I would say first.
well, it's a combination. So
Yeah.
it's mostly dealing with the first fetter, but it brings you to the eighth, basically.
Yeah.
It drops you into that space where what I take to
I think
be.
you should tell people what the headless way is first.
Yeah, sure. So it was started by Douglas Harding and is currently being taught by Richard Lang. They have a variety of different exercises, but the foundation of it is basically one of like the most basic pointings is like if you look down at the ground and then you start bringing your gaze closer so you see legs and you see a belly and a chest. And you realize that when you look up, there's no head there. You can't actually see your face. You just see everything else in its place. And another variation is to take your finger and you kind of point it out at the world. And we have this idea that we are looking out at it. And then we turn the finger around and we look back at where that's pointing. And again, all we see is everything. That, the phrasing they use is like, we are space for the world. And so when I'm having a conversation with Pernille, the only thing that exists is Pernille. I am not there. I am making space for her. And then within her experience, she is making space for me. And so basically, when you do a lot of these and some of the other exercises, you get that feeling of openness and spaciousness, and it drops away the feeling of I. It drops away the feeling of, it can be sixth fetter. It can drop away that feeling of separation between the witnesser and everything else that's being seen, and it's literally just the seeing in this open vastness. And it kind of brings you to that like eighth fetter where, I've heard Richard Lang speak, and like he said that in there were one or two like interviews that I saw of him where he had said that actually he doesn't really believe in no self. Like he's actually kind of antagonistic towards that a bit, or just it's not his experience of things. Um, and I think he's talking in the eighth fetter version because it kind of points to, you are that open space. You are everything that shows up, not just, you're not the body, you're not the face and the head. You are everything that is showing up, which is very much bringing you to the eighth fetter experience. But there is still identification in that because obviously you are everything.
Is back to the first fetter.
Yeah.
Of you are anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's really where it's pointing, and it can be really powerful for people for getting like a immediate recognition that like, oh, I don't have a head. Like I don't feel the assumption is that there is a face and there is a head and there is all this, and when I come to find it, it is just open space. It is just everything else that is showing up that is here. Yeah, they have quite a few actually really helpful pointers.
And Nils, I want to say that if you want to play more with it, then go to the sixth fetter. The sixth fetter is the fun fetter, because that is where we're completely dissolving all ideas about the subject object. So if you're into the headless wave, you're definitely going to enjoy the sixth fetter in the curriculum that I can recommend you.
Yeah, I was just thinking about there's a one more before we leave that because it's just kind of fun. Is if you take your hands out in front of you and you bring them up over the head and just be aware. So you're keeping your eyes straight ahead. You don't follow your hands. Just keep them gentle gaze out, and notice at the point where you start to lose the vision of the hands, and you bring them over the head and back, and it's a very strange sensation because you realize that the hands have just disappeared, right? Like the visual field is still there. It's completely whole. There's nothing behind it, even though you saw your hands kind of approaching this space. They just dissolve into nothingness, and your actual visual field is completely untouched by that, but your hands just disappear. You might have sensation, but you can't even say whether that sensation is in front of or behind anything. It's just,
Yeah, it's like the black vastness of the universe is right behind your head.
yeah.
And when you take your hands behind there, your hands dissolve into the black vastness of the universe. That is just right there.
So super interesting.
Yeah.
Fun one.
Thank you. Thank you for bringing it up.
Let me just see. This is the first better exercise
Yeah,
that many of us in the group
absolutely.
has experienced.
First
Thank you,
fella.
Jason. Good. Uh, yeah, I love that. Leela said everything is about our awakening, not just the big events. Yeah, Yuri said, is it okay to recommend Body Keeps the Score book
Yes.
about how types of trauma rewires and
Yes,
changes
yes,
the
yes.
brain neural pathways? I work as trauma, surgical ICU, and patients and their families. I read it and found it very helpful for my mind. It could be a nice resource for people who have strong must understand.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
absolutely. I love The Body Keep the Score.
Yeah.
It's a really good book.
Really, really good. Yes, okay. Even impermanence itself is impermanent when creation appears.
Yes.
That's great. Leela said, I recently attended a Headless Way retreat with Richard after being immersed in our work, but I found the dialogue stopping at the eighth fetter.
Yeah, they
that's-
do. They
that
do.
was my impression.
Yeah.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Leela.
Thank you
Okay.
so much, Leela.
Now we're going to pause the recording when we bring up Alex. Oops. There we go.
And now it's Stefan.
Hello. And Marianne said, I have to leave. How do you
Oh.
find the Discord group? So email me
Yeah.
at unfetteredmindfulness@gmail.com and I will send you a Discord link.
And if you're watching this recording afterwards, then kindly share a bit about yourself when you email, so we know who you are. We're really protective about our wonderful community in there.
It's a really great community.
Yeah, it is.
All right.
Hi, Stefan.
Stefan. Welcome.
Oh, you're muted.
Oh,
There you go. Gotcha.
There we go.
okay. I am from Germany, so I try my best.
That's okay.
It's okay. You're still welcome.
Okay.
She can understand you even if
I'm Danish, so we're basically family.
All right. So at the moment, my attention is on my chest area. My heart is beating very strong.
Yeah.
I don't have a question. I would like to share something. This is my third attempt to join the group. The first two ones, I shortly before I was sliding into darkness.
Oh.
And but the funny thing is, I didn't want to raise my hand today, but Pernille, you were speaking about the video with Ted, and the second time I was sliding in darkness more than 3 times, but but I was watching the videos with Ted, and he was talking about vomiting black stuff out of it, and 2 or 3 days later I did the same.
Yeah.
So it was so helpful to bring it in right order.
Yes.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I'm grateful for that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Honestly, I have to say I'm not really into the feathers. I'm much more in the Course of Miracles. Yes, and I was thinking about the people who were speaking today, and for me it was great because I had an exercise in patience.
Yes.
Because every time I wanted to say something to the people out of my own experience, and in my experience, it's really never the story, never. And in the Course of Miracles, the fifth lection is called "I'm never upset for the reason I think."
Yeah.
That's great.
That's it, and
Yeah.
the rest is putting attention to the feeling. and be with it.
I love that.
Yeah, I could share a lot actually, because I'm like the woman before. I was pretty often at the point where breathing was too much. I didn't want to live anymore, but I was pretty sure my whole life I don't want to kill myself. So I was
Yeah.
in a kind of tight situation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's quite a bind.
And because it was the topic of today, TRE helped me a lot.
Yes.
In December, I was in a situation where breathing was too much, and I really hated God, although I know it has something to do with me. But I hated him for still being alive. The funny thing was that I wanted to sleep and I was not able to sleep. So I knew since, I would say, the main topic of my life was self-trust. Because since a lot of years, I was pretty clear that TRE is a pretty important thing, because it's not just shaking, it's unloading of the nervous system, and that's
Yes.
the difference.
Yeah.
So when I was at a place in December where no way to go, a kind of dead end, and the back door was closed, I did TRE hours and hours and
Yeah.
hours.
Well done.
Because like Alison before, this body is 47 years old, and my life was a life of being in the freeze mode, with no identity, like a chameleon, and unlike man, people pleasing, no boundaries. Give me connection. I need a mother to land on this earth, and I never found it. So this was a self job for me. Yeah, but theory helped that much. And I observed that my thinking was that much in circles. All the thoughts, I knew them. Many times I had the same thoughts. So while I was doing TRE, I was listening to Jiddu Krishnamurti, and he helped that much in this time.
Amazing.
Because he said we never face this deep sorrow. And it was so clear there is no solution in thoughts. All I was left was this shitty feeling and breathing and attention. That's it.
Yeah.
And this was the moment, because in reflection, I touched, since 6 years, it was pretty much like a roller coaster, because I always came to the brink of living or dying. It was always the same, but I never gave up totally. So Jiddu Krishnamurti helped me, because he confirmed for me that there is no solution in thinking, because the one who is thinking is the one who wants to find a solution.
Yeah.
That's not the way. So
No.
you need to say, okay, there is one person, Jiddu Krishnamurti, is on my side, and he's saying, forget it. And I was able to connect with unbound consciousness. I began to trust myself. I put myself first, like Donald Trump is saying, America first. I said myself first.
Stephen first.
Yeah, Stephen first. And because peace, if someone wants peace for the world, here's the first place you can start.
Yes.
If you have peace here, there is no conflict. And if there is no conflict, there is no ego. So I finish. Thank you for listening.
Oh, that's
wonderful. Thank you so
Thank you
much.
for your offer, and I'm grateful, and
Wonderful. I love your journey so much. I just have one thing for next time when you are in that situation where you are aware that the mind is not bringing any truth at all, and then you said there's just this body and shitty sensations. Next time I would like for you to challenge even that idea that a sensation in the body can be good or bad or shitty or wonderful, because that is a mind overlay. If you do not have any reference in your mind to memory to when the body felt any different than what it does right now, this sensation right now cannot be anything but what it is, which means that this sensation right now, it's fine.
I'm totally grateful because you reminded me of something in the video with Ted. You were saying there was one part with the vomiting black stuff.
Yeah.
The other part was you. You said, okay, you don't know how to go forward, you don't know how to go backwards, so stay there. And that's what you said now.
Exactly.
Yeah, because it's also said in the Course of Miracles, I hope I can translate it. Love, let all things be like they are.
Yes, exactly.
No, and that is what Krishnamurti is saying. Because if you try to manipulate, to change something, you are violent. You are violent against yourself, and this violence will be projected outwards.
Yes, absolutely.
So thank you for reminding me, because I'm on your side. So we are.
Wonderful.
Wonderful.
I'm so happy you're here, Stefan. I'm so happy. It's so good to meet you. Yeah, it's so good to meet you.
Yeah, me too.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Hope to see you again.
Yeah.
Yes.
If possible.
Yes, if possible.
Of course.
I just want to see if Marianne is here, and I want to check in with Amy. But I also know that you have a session. When do you have
I
time?
do. Quickly. Yeah.
Quickly. It was just because Amy had her hand up and then took it down. I just want to check in if the hand is supposed to be down. You can just.
Yes. I was asking pretty much the same question, like super restless. Just,
Okay.
yeah. So I'm like, okay, everybody's talking the same thing.
Okay. Back on the dance floor, Amy. Back on the dance floor. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. And then Marianne said she was here and then she left. I just want to check if she.
Oh, yeah, I think she did leave.
I think she left. Yeah.
I think so.
Okay, then I think that's it.
Yep.
Can you take us out of spotlight? It's over there.
Nope. There we are.
There we go.
Yes.
I think that was it.
Yeah.
And you have a session.
I do.
So when do we see people next time?
In 1 month.
We don't have anything before that, do we?
Not really. Yeah, the next one is February 18th.
Okay.
So happy Valentine's Day.
Happy Valentine's Day, everyone. We love you. Sending you hearts on Valentine's Day if nobody else is. And see you on Discord if you have any questions or anything. Just write on Discord. We have an amazing community in there. And if you're not on Discord yet, then write to Todd on unfilteredmindfulness@gmail.com and just say you were with us today, and then he give you the link for that. It has been absolutely wonderful, as always. So nice having you. So nice seeing you. And sending everybody so much love.
Absolutely.
So much love.
And thank you for your help, Leela.
Yeah.
Appreciate that too. Thanks,
Thank you.
everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
That was nice.